Someone has rightly said that stop enjoying the problems of others, or else God will gift you the same, because God only gives gifts that we enjoy. There was a king who took great care of his subjects and his family. But the king had been suspicious of his men for a few days, and he had 3 very special ministers who handled his work. However, for some time, one of those 3 ministers was mismanaging the king's money and was not doing his work properly. Now, the king was in quite a dilemma. He could not figure out which of the 3 ministers was dishonest and which was honest. To find this out, one day the king called all 3 ministers to him and said, "Look, ministers, my birthday is coming up, so all 3 of you will have to go to a dense forest, and each of you will be given a bag. You will be dropped off in different parts of the dense forest. In that forest, you must find fruit trees, and you have to fill your carts with good and fresh fruits. And you 3 only have time until this evening." According to the king's orders, they dropped off all 3 ministers in the forest. After that, the first minister, who was very honest and hard-working, filled his cart with many different and fresh fruits for the king. But he had to work very hard to do all this. He completed his work and was very tired, having done it honestly. Now, the second minister was quite clever. He thought the king wouldn't have enough time to check whether I brought good fruits or bad ones, so without much effort, he picked up the fruits that were lying on the ground and put them in his cart, without considering whether they were good or bad. The fruits he found on the ground were very bad, and he comfortably sat down under a tree. Now, the third minister, who was very dishonest and lazy, thought that the king would only look at the length and weight of the cart, and not what was inside it, and how good or bad the things were. So this third minister, without thinking, filled his cart with dry leaves and small stones, and sat down under a tree, waiting for evening. According to the king's orders, the time was up, and evening had come. Now, all 3 ministers returned together with their carts to the king's palace. The king saw that all 3 ministers had returned from the forest, so he opened their carts to see what was inside and imprisoned each of the 3 ministers in separate cells for a month. The king ordered the guards that these 3 would not be given food for a month, and they would eat only the fruits they brought from the forest in their carts. So the first minister, who had collected good and fresh fruits in his cart, spent a month comfortably in prison, eating the good fruits he had gathered himself. The second minister, who had the worthless and bad fruits in his cart, had to eat those bad fruits for a month and could not last long in that prison, eventually falling ill due to the bad fruits. Now, the third minister, who was very dishonest and lazy, had only dry leaves and small stones in his cart. Since his cart had only dry leaves and small stones, what could he eat for a month? He began to regret his dishonesty and laziness, thinking that if only he had worked a little harder that day to fill his cart with fruits, he wouldn't be in this situation today, and he died of hunger in the prison just 2 days later. So, friends, this story teaches us that the laziness and dishonesty we indulge in, dishonesty means not putting any effort into our own work and just sitting idle, doesn't seem to matter today. Today we can relax by being lazy in our work. But later, in the future, we regret it. You might have heard many people saying, "If only I had done this at that time, I would be in that person's place today." But at that time, those people chose laziness. That's why they are where they are today. And those who chose hard work have moved forward in their journey. So never indulge in dishonesty and laziness with your work. After that, we gain nothing but regret. You know, the value of time cannot be measured. Even if we pay millions, we cannot bring back a single minute of our lives. So make good use of this time. Time has a good aspect and a bad aspect. The good aspect is that it is in our hands how we spend it. The bad aspect is that time passes, and everyone has 24 hours a day, both the poor and the rich. It is in our hands what new things we can do with that time. So keep track of each moment that we are spending on what things. If you want to share this story with more people, please like this video so that it can reach more people. Friends, you can let me know in the comments what you learned from today's video. I hope you enjoyed today's video, so share it with someone who needs to hear this story.